assignment 2 will have this kind of structure where it have 8 questions, right? Creating a customer class, creating a bank account class, creating default constructor, overloader constructor, getters and setters, and for these classes, right? So this is coding part, and then so step by step. So don't worry about the whole assignment. Step by step. The first part is creating a customer class. So in the here, while you are in the project, these comments you can remove if you are if you are seeing that it's difficult or making it a little confusing. So just remove these comments. This is where you are. Go to the project and create a new assignment. Just close down these things. Close, close. So you have to spend more time testing out those server and client guys, because networking and those things were given to you guys, right? So in the exam you are going to see some examples like that. Although it's not coding, you have to practice the coding part, because in the exam you have to know what's happening in the coding, network programming, and also the socket programming and database programming. I will not give you any coding for that in the exam, but I'll give you coding and ask you questions about it that you should know. You don't have to do any coding, but you should know. When I show you some codes, you should know what's happening for the networking part and for the database part. Okay, so this is the project. Click the project name. This is the first file. So it's in this package. See over here, this is the package name. Package means the name of the folder. And this is the folder. Click it, new, Java class, customer. And the assignment says here to customer ID and customer full name. So you can choose yourself the data type. So what is the data type? Private. Always in Java we use private, and it is a customer ID card number, which is a string ID card number. You can use this kind of naming convention, or you can put underscore. This is much preferred. This is called camel casing. Private string full name. You can show a customer name like this, or customer full name, doesn't matter. It says just, it doesn't give the variable name, so you can decide yourself the variable name, customer name. These two things. Okay. So it says here create a class and only these two attributes. It doesn't ask you anything else. So this is it. Question number 1, part 1, finished. Question number 2, create a bank account class with following attributes. Again, new Java class, bank account. This is another class you have created. Okay. So what do you say? Private string. We have account number, and we can give string account number, because now although account number is numbers, it's good to use string, because there is a format, right? Sometimes some numbers have spaces, some account numbers have dash, the way people write it. So we will let it have this way. Account balance is double value because it's decimal. Account balance, account account balance. You don't have to write the whole variable, but this is much better when it is little descriptive. Then there is a customer. See, you have created a customer class already, so you can put a customer. So whose bank account is this? That's what you are saying. Private customer. Okay. Whose account is this? That you have to decide later. So we have a bank. We have these three variables. Customize your own data type. This is the strength of Java, right? Or even C Sharp, you have done this. So in object-oriented programming, you are able to make your own data type. You just made a customer, and this becomes a data type. So here, customer. Okay, finish. This is question number 2. So in the assignment 2, the way the questions are given, you can score a lot. You will only lose marks in the difficult areas. Still, you will step by step you can do. Okay, create the default constructor, overloaded constructor, getters and setters, and methods to string. I'll go step by step. Default constructor means class name, So you first of all go to customer. Here's the customer. After you are done with this in the NetBeans, you can right click, insert code, choose constructor, and don't choose anything because you are generating a default constructor. Generate. See, this is called default constructor. Default constructor is any class that has the same name as the class name, and there's a bracket but nothing inside it. This is called default constructor. What does it do? It initializes your variable. You can use comment to describe it. This is called the default constructor. Usage. Why do you use? You use it in order to, so this is a comment. So you use in order to initialize default values. So what is the default value for ID card number? The default value for ID card number is going to be equal to empty because it's not given, or you can say not given, not assigned. Usually people use this, not assigned. Customer name is also the same, so we can put it here also. Both of them are not assigned. By default they are not assigned. It's better to give some value, right? That's why you are creating this. You can do the same thing to the bank account. Let's go to the insert code constructor. Don't choose anything, generate. This is a default constructor, and this time you have account number is equal to not assigned. We don't know the account number. Then account balance equals 0.0 by default, and customer, this is a customer, this is an object, so you have to use constructor. So this becomes a customer. This is the default constructor. Therefore this customer will have ID card and customer number not assigned, and nothing has been given to him. By default there is nothing, but this creates an empty customer. Okay, empty customer. So two classes, both of the default constructors created. And if you can't generate them, you have to type it. You have to type like this. Overloaded constructor. Overloaded constructor means, again, see, like this, you right click, insert code for constructor. This time you will select everything, select all, generate. So this is a different type of constructor. Again, same name, but this time I have an initializer list. I have a list of variables that can be given. So if you know the variables already, let's say you know that ID card number and you know that the customer name is like this, therefore you can assign them like this. So use customer, and then ID card number and customer name can be given like this if you know them. If you don't know them, then you can use customer default constructor to create an empty customer. If you know the details, you can directly give them here, so the customer will be created with those details. Okay, that is the customer overloaded constructor for this class. So constructors have the same name as the class name. Let's do it here. So here we will do the same thing, insert code for the constructor. This time you select everything and generate. Again, if you know the account number and if you know the account balance and if you know which customer, you can give him here, then it will be assigned directly. This is called overloaded constructor. So default constructor and overloaded constructor, both of them have been created. Now getters and setters. So getters and setters are used because you can see here they are private. The variables are private. See, even in the customer class, they are private. So this is called encapsulation. Encapsulation. Okay, you are hiding the variables from other classes. So if other people wants to modify, if other classes, other programmers, or anyone else who is using your class, if they would like to modify your class data, they have to use getters and setters. So again, you can either type them or you can generate them, getters and setters. Select everything, generate. This is what a getter is. See, a getter is, because they are private variables, two private variables, so there will be two setters. One setter to get the one getter to get the ID card number, another getter to get the customer name. They are private variables, so you can't get them, you can't access them. The only way to access them is using a public function. So using a public function. So this function can return us the customer name. Because the customer name is right now private, we can't access it. But this guy can give it to us. So we have to create a separate function so that other classes can use it. Same thing for customer name. Then you have a setter. Setter is, if you have, or let's say you know the ID card number and you have created the customer. Now you are trying to change it. For some reason you want to change it. Then you use the setter to change something. Like if you want to change the ID card number, then you have to give the ID card number. And the variable name and the signature variable name are the same, but you have this in front of it. So this is a way to identify this class. That means this is the variable coming from outside. They have the same name because it's a way for programmers to do the coding by using this variable. References the current object. If you want, let's say you created a customer with the name Fauzi, and then you want to change it. And so instead of Fauzi, you want to change the customer name to Fauzan, and then it becomes set customer name. You have to change the customer name using this variable. Okay, so that's the way to change it. So this is an example of what we called as getters and setters. Let's do it here. If you don't have any way to generate them, if you don't have NetBeans, then you have to type it exactly like this. Okay. Actually, the doesn't have to be exactly like, you can put anything else you want, but this line has to be correct. A function name is not important. When you generate them, it tries to generate in a format. See, the whole variable has the same spelling except for the first one, makes them capital. That's when you automatically generate. If you write it yourself, you can even say get ID, get ID, get ID, get name, no problem. As long as your data type and the return is fine. Okay, getters and setters. So let's go to this class, create the getters and setters. Insert code, getters and setters, select everything, generate. There we have. Just like that. If you want to change the customer, let's say you have an account number, now you are trying to change the customer. Previously someone else was having that account, and now he wants to transfer that account to someone else, for example, for some reason, I don't know. You can change it. Set custom, give a new custom. Also possible in this case. Okay, using setters and getters. Okay, then there is one function called toString. toString. So toString is used when you want to print the information. See, for example, let me show you customer class. So let's try to create a customer. I will use main class to show you why toString is needed. So customer Fauzi. This is a it's a new customer, right? And if you try to print Fauzi name plus get customer name, it will be empty. See, not assigned. Why? Because we use default constructor. See here, so it's not assigned. If you know the name, let's say in this case we know his name is Fauzi, for example, then we can send them in this order: ID card number and then customer name. So ID card number A099765, for example. So comma, then the name Fauzi. For example, Ibrahim Fauzi, like this, full name. Now, if you try to get the name, there's the name. Why? Because you are using this getter and you are using the overloaded constructor. This is the overload constructor. This one is going to give him a name. That's how we use constructors. If you want to change it, let's say Fauzi dot set name. His name is not Ibrahim Fauzi, for example, or Ali Fauzi. If that is the case, again you have to print it again. Name, new name, Ibrahim Fauzi, new name is Ali Fauzi. Check. So, what about his ID? If you want to print his information, everything, it will be difficult, you know. So, what you do is you go here, you create a function called toString down here. Right click, insert code, toString. See this thing called toString. Generate. This is coming from a parent class called object. All Java classes have a parent class called object class. You are not seen here because it's inherent, implicit. Override means this is a specific version for this class. We don't deal with these kind of things in this module, so just follow it. String to string, it means it's going to return customer information, everything. So if you don't have any way to insert it, you have to write the whole thing. Let me show you what it does. So instead of printing Fauzi name, I can just call Fauzi dot toString. This is going to give him everything, not just his name, his ID, in whatever format you have defined. So after changing again, if I want to print his information, so this is how it does. This is information. After I change, this is the new information. Ali Fauzi, because we changed it. Okay, so it gives both the ID card name and also customer name. We can change the order also. See here, we can actually play around with this part because this output is not that nice. See, it has some bracket, comma. So what we can do is we can, whatever is in quotation marks, these things are our own, we can change. So instead of a bracket, we will say customer information. Then we'll put a colon, then a new line, right? Followed by a tab. Slash t means a tab. then we get ID card number, the space. This is much friendlier way, right? ID card number. After printing ID card number, before printing customer name, instead of a comma, we put a new line again, new line, and then we'll put customer name with a capital C, customer, and give a space, customer name, or even ID card number. Instead of customer name, we say name, also fine, right? Everything in this kind of brackets you can always play around. Here also you need to give a slash n and a slash t. Why? Because slash t means give a tab. It will print it after giving a tab. And this last, we don't need this last item. So after printing the customer name, mm, it can give a new line. Maybe it can give a new line again. This is better. See, for example, let's run it again, see how the difference. Look at this now. What is this session? Says with backslash, not forward slash. Okay, see, customer information, ID card number, name. Customer information, ID card number, name. Everything is there. So toString is like that. It prints information about the item you are looking for. So this is what toString is about. Okay, guys. Let's try to make a toString class for bank account. So I was just showing you an example here why toString is used. So in reality, this was never asked in the question yet, because in the assignment it just says for us to do the constructor getstars and setters and toString. And because we have never created the toString method earlier, I was just trying to explain to you guys what is the toString method. Now we can create the same thing in our bank account class. Here we can just insert a coding for toString method, select all, generate. See, so this time it doesn't have customer information. Look, see, customer, it only says customer. So this is the problem with that. So here you have to say customer dot toString dot toString, because customer is an object, it's not one value. Customer dot toString. Let's try to see if it actually does without using the toString. Let's see whether it actually automatically calls the toString method or not, because it's possible. It's possible. So here I'll try to create a bank account class. Bank account. Let's create a bank account for Fauzi. And there is a balance and a customer, right? In order to create an account, you need account number, balance, and customer. Account number is a string. Then balance. Let's put some money inside his account, little bit. And then what is the last item? Customer. Who is the customer? So this is the customer, Fauzi. And this time, if you call Fauzi, what's the issue? Sorry. Sorry, guys. Equal new bank account. That's the format, right? Yeah. So this time, if you call the toString method on the bank, because this is the bank account, and in the bank account toString method, there is customer printed without calling the toString method. So what happens? Oh, that's nice. So it actually prints customer information. No, it doesn't. Let's try to remove this too. Sorry, we have to put this inside a south. It has to be printed inside toString method in the first place because it's returning something, it's not printing. Yeah. So customer information, it actually prints nicely. So you don't have to put toString like this. You can just put Fauzi account, just print Fauzi account without calling the toString. Is the same thing. See, same thing. You can just print the object, and then it automatically goes and it calls the toString method. It's very nice. We just want to modify the way it prints. See, for example, we don't want like this kind of output. So let's change bank space account information, and then account number slash t, account number is print space, and then print the account number, and go to the new line again, and also a new tab, and then account balance, a capital, no need of account, just balance, and who is the customer, again new line followed by a new slash t, and the last, we don't need this thing. Let's see, the output will be nice. See, now it's much better. Bank account information, account number, balance, customer information. So when you have toString method, you don't have to call the getter separately because the toString method already prints everything the way we want it. So we can just say, I have a bank account, print it. So it goes to the class, it looks for this function, it prints the way this guy is asking to print. That's what toString does. I'm just showing you how toString works. Still, this is not part of the assignment because the assignment says only to create this toString class here, not toString class, toString function here. That's it. That's part of this thing, right? toString. So you have to play around with this like the way we are doing now when you are learning. But when you are doing the assignment, you don't have to do what we did in the main class just now. I was just explaining a few things, right? So according to this, you just have to create the toString method. You don't have to test it. You just have to create it. Okay, this one we are done. Now is a new class. Question number 4 is a new class. So from here onwards, create a transaction that implements runnable interface. This is the where actually concurrent programming is happening. You see, this is where concurrent programming is, because now we have threads. See, we are creating a class called transaction class, and this class we have to implement in a way that it can do multitasking, so that it can do multitasking, right? Okay, guys. So this we will do in the next class. So what I want you to do is get this file from module. See here, and then I have this sample files. So my project structure looks like this. I want you to create your own one. So I'm not going to give you the coding. I'm going to give you only the screenshots. So where is this folder? Let me save it here. Click concurrent programming tutorials. This is assignment 2 practice. So project structure is like that, and then you already have the assignment there. The module assignment is there, sample. Then let's see the coding, the customer class coding. Okay, so this one is very short. It's coding. Copy this thing into a notepad file. This will make it shorter, smaller. Remove those stuff, all these spaces, so I can take a screenshot for you. I guess this is not that useful. So that's the project structure, customer class and a bank account class. Let me just give you this file, guys. I want you to code it anyway yourself. Don't just copy paste, okay? Whatever I'm giving you is for your benefit. So don't try to copy the whole thing. You watch the video and then you try to do it that way, okay? Step one until step four, at least for tonight. Okay, so I'll just finish the recording here